Partner Training Part 7. Pricing and Commercial Terms. Like most products and services in most markets, there is a huge variation in price and pricing systems. Training is no different. We would prefer to use a training per day model, where the client will pay a fixed fee for the trainer's time for the day and then be able to send, we recommend, around 6 to 8 people for each training session. This is obviously live Classroom Boost training. Traditionally, training has been targeted around 10 to 12 participants per session. In our style of training, we find that the 6 to 8 number works best for 3 main reasons. Number 1, it's easier for the company to spare staff away from the customer service, support, or sales desks. It makes the group easier to manage and has more discussion and interaction. And 3, perhaps most importantly, people have a better learning experience due to the nature of the role plays and the feedback they receive. So pricing per day for 6 to 8 participants is the way we'd like to go forward. If the client prefers to run a half-day session, we would still charge that as a full day if we could, a minimum of 75%. If we're charging a full day, we could suggest to the client that the consulting partner could utilize their time whilst on site to go and coach people and discuss issues individually at the desk, maybe spending half an hour to 45 minutes in pairs, reviewing 2 people at a time, conducting a useful discussion around the challenges and ways of improving their approach. There are, however, other ways of pricing training. Some organizations will use a per delegate pricing point. This is common where you're licensing material. This is also more the way of training if you're doing an open course and people are attending from many different organizations. We have a separate topic on that coming up in just a moment. The price here can vary anywhere between £200 to £500 here in the UK, and a similar differentiation in other countries. The higher price will be likely to be with a trade association, chamber of commerce, or high quality branded training organization. The paradox is this: if the chamber of commerce is charging £500 for a day of training, it will probably be delivered by an associate who would do the training for much less given the opportunity. So the training quality does not always reflect in the price. You can get just as productive training by spending, say, £1,000 a day to train 6 people as you can to spend £5,000 a day. The way the learning is embedded within our training course, the knowledge is not so much with the trainer. You do not need to position yourself as a high quality, high paid guru who will require a high fee. This is very much frontline training. We're not training people with mega salaries in the C-suite. So your training pricing needs to be realistic and reflect that. As always, with any marketing, you always charge the highest price that the market will bear for a good quality product. You do not want to be the most expensive, neither do you want to be in the lower quartile or even the lower 50% of price banding. The unconscious bias of this in the customer's mind is your training won't be very good. When you're pricing a training course, either as a proposal, you would itemize out and charge separately for all expenses which are out of pocket, such as train fares, air, mileage, accommodation, and so on. And it would be expected that the client would provide a training venue. Fourth benefit for training in a slightly smaller group of 6 to 8 people is that most organizations will have a room that will seat that number, but not every organization has a table and arrangement that can seat 12. So it's likely to save the customer money in not having to go out for an external venue. The materials can also be charged separately for, either as an at cost or offering the client the opportunity to print them themselves. Alternatively, the price can simply be absorbed in your day rate charge. When you're running open seminars, as we'll hear in a moment, you may want to structure the price differently to encourage early booking. Now let's quickly turn to discounting. If you're charging a day rate and the client wants to run, let's say, 6 days of training over the course of a few months or weeks, it would be realistic to expect a discount. We find normally a 5 or 10% discount is more than appropriate and would be acceptable to most clients. It is not the actual cost saving that's important, it's the feeling of getting some kind of discount. However, you need to make sure that the dates are firm and they don't simply book 6 dates and then cancel 5. So it's worthwhile having an extended cancellation period or getting a quarter payment up front. If you do accept a discount, you may reserve the right to go to the back to the original price if the client cancels the following dates. So be careful with discounts. Most of the time it's a token gesture. If nothing else, if you charge separately for, say, a SWOT analysis or training analysis and maybe some coaching, you could include a day of that or half a day of that at a discount, maintaining your full day rate undiscounted, which will set a precedent for future courses. You can also look at charging an additional amount for extra delegates. So this is quite important. Let's imagine you're charging £1,000 a day for up to 8 people, and they want to send a further 4 people. You will need to find more manuals and materials, and also you will be providing more value. So it would be appropriate to charge an extra amount for each additional delegate over the specified number of 8. Typically, this would be around 5 to 10%. Let's say £50 to £100 per delegate. It's worth putting this into the proposal, but not necessarily making a big thing of it or drawing attention to it. Our payment terms are normally invoice after the training and payment within 30 days. Depending on your market that you work with, that's normally most acceptable. For larger programs, you may want to ask for a 25% or 50% deposit in advance if there's a lot of bespoke work or a lot of travel required for the trainer.